Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Fantasy Show. We are back again with another special. Today, we put out on Twitter what you wanted us to do, and you came back with a Superflex Dynasty League. So we are doing one of them today. It's my first one, Adam. I've never done a Superflex League before, so this could be a bit interesting for me. You're already in this thing. How do you feel about Superflex?
Well, last year it kind of felt like it was the new fad. Everyone was doing Superflex. There was lots of it going around, especially in Dynasty leagues, which is what we're doing today. Yeah, it's going to be entertaining for someone who's never done it before, so that should be fun. But yeah, it's not really that crazy. It's just obviously one particular position gets a lot more value than what it would normally do. So that's pretty much all it is. But
for all of those other people out there watching that are tuning in to find out what's going on, just let them know some of the key differences that they're going to see in a Superflex to what we have done in our previous shows.
Well, really, with a Superflex, you are just going to see loads of quarterbacks go early. You know, that's what a Superflex is. You've got that extra position for the quarterback. Most people are gonna, you don't have to play a quarterback there, but most people will and would do because obviously they get the most points. So it'd be a bit crazy if you didn't. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much the difference really when it comes to this. And it depends how much you value quarterbacks. I mean, I've done Superflex before and still taken quarterbacks quite late because you can still get starters quite late on. But yeah, it's a little bit different. Like I said, it was quite a big thing last year. You saw lots of people doing it. Clearly, people still want it, as we put the poll out and it got 49% of the vote. So this is what you want. So don't blame us when it all goes wrong.
Well, let's get straight into it then. Let's have a little look at what we will be doing. Here we are. The usual board. You've all seen it before. Let's start the draft.
So, as we were saying, normally you wouldn't see many quarterbacks going quite early. The first two, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Well, there's a bit of a surprise for you, but for Superflex, not really. Jonathan Taylor going at the third, Burrow and Herbert, Jamar Chase going. I mean, I know it's Dynasty, but still, you could argue quite early there with the 1-6. But obviously, he's a bit younger than your Jeffersons and all that. And then Dak Prescott and Kyler Murray rounding out the team 8, leaving our Superflex virgin on the clock. What does he do? So, where does he go?
Obviously, when you do just a redraft, which is the most common one that I've been involved in, I find it doesn't benefit you being early in the draft. I find being the first picks quite like there's not loads of value in it when there's 4 or 5. It's usually a running back that you've got to pick from. But looking at this and seeing the names that have come off the board real quick, you've got to get one of those young quarterbacks that's going to be around, one of those dual threat guys. And someone that I highly rate as for dynasty leagues anyway, because he is dual threat, is Lamar Jackson. He's still young. They build the franchise around him. They build the whole offensive plays around him. I'm quite surprised he's still on the board now. I'm surprised Prescott's gone before him. I'm a little bit surprised Burrow's gone before him because he's not quite that dual threat. I'm not sure, but that leaves me with quite an easy pick. I'm not gonna coming around the corner and things like that. I'm not envious of you. Going late in this doesn't help, does it?
No, I mean it is something that a lot of people, that like I say, they go quarterback early. It depends how you want to play it. I mean, I've done different leagues where, like I've said before, it's not one that I necessarily go mega early for, but it depends how we do. I mean, it depends if we want to create a bit of an experiment here. I mean, obviously, you've gone for Lamar Jackson and Justin Jefferson next. I'm quite tempted, almost like what we'll do with you. You can be the quarterbacks early and I'll go late just to see what happens. And this is what people will see and what happens for us. So, I mean, obviously, Jonathan Taylor's gone at running back, which is an obvious one. There's not only in redraft but in Dynasty as well. But one that I think for Dynasty that's a really good pick, probably the best one still there. He's going to be the bell cow at that team for many years to come, I think. Pittsburgh Steelers and Najee Harris. So I'm going to go for Najee, and I'm going to go completely against what I probably should be doing. Although Team 12 have gone running back as well. So I've got one really good running back already. Look at the board. There's a lot of wide receivers, but then there's lots of wide receivers anyway that you can use. Running back, there's some really good running backs there. When it comes to quarterback, and I look at it, to be perfectly honest, I'm not really mega interested in Deshaun Watson, given everything that's going on. Even though it's Dynasty, I still feel you have to think about competing this year as well. It doesn't overly excite me. Russell Wilson is one that I think I probably would go for at this point, but because we're going to go for something a bit wacky and a bit different, I'm going to go for Austin Eckler. Love Eckler. I think he's still going to be good for a few more years, so I'm going to pick him up there. Kyle Pitts went, and then it's back to you, and let's see, is he going to go quarterback again?
Well, it's a tricky one to go with when, in terms of looking at the lineup and the points value of what people get. You'd probably say that a low-end quarterback's still getting you 17 points a week if you use it in that spot. High-end, you're looking maybe 20 to 30 points. So when I look at your two picks, and you've got two running backs that are heavily used in the run and the catching game, I'd say that they arguably are worth 20 to 30 points a game each as well. I mean, if they're getting under 17, I'd say they've had a stinker, really. So in terms of value, I think you've got the same value with your two players as what you would out of a quarterback anyway. So yeah, interesting. What we got?
I do agree with you. I think it's just purely that point where when it comes to quarterbacks, obviously they do, in general, if they come out and have a decent game, then they are likely to come out and get you a lot of points, aren't they? So I think that's where you have to be a bit careful with Superflex. I feel it's not something that you necessarily feel that you have to go. Like I said, you don't have to go quarterback straight away. But at the same time, if you do miss out on some really good quarterbacks, then it does become a problem. When I was looking at what I was looking at, there wasn't really much left of them really, really high-end quarterbacks. It's like Russell Wilson was still there, but you do have to sort of question, he is in his 30s, so that is a thing that might put you off a little bit. Jalen Hurts, so he's one who you feel like maybe would have been a good choice because of the run game as well. But the downside with Jalen Hurts is you don't actually know if the Philadelphia Eagles are 100% with him. So, this is the problem. I feel like, and if you're going to get one of them really, the main guys in them first couple of rounds, their first couple of picks even, happy days. But if you don't, then you're going to start struggling.
Yeah. I've looked at both the lists of the quarterbacks and the running backs, and with it being a Dynasty League, you've got that chance that you might only need, if you've got your solid guy like I've already got now, I might not need someone to last me forever. I might only need them to do me 2-3 years, so I can have one of those older ones as my second guy, and then maybe look to the draft from the rookies in those 2-3 years to replace them. And I think looking down the board of the quarterbacks, there's still good guys all the way down, sort of, I've passed at least 13, 14, and you still got starters that are going to be around for 3 or 4 years. So I'm going to look at the running back because I value that position massively, and I don't think there's many real high-end guys that you can really lean on for the few years. And you're never going to get any of these guys in normal situations. Looking at Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Nick Chubb, they're never going to be left up around the bend on a normal one, are they? So I feel like I've got to take one of them now. I mean, I don't know where his future is going to be. I still just think he's the best running back in the league. He might be moving on, who knows? But I've got to take Derrick Henry just because he is fantastic.
Yeah, so Henry goes, and now long way now until we get back to you. So CeeDee Lamb has gone, Mark Andrews, Deshaun Watson, so another quarterback off the board at the 2-7, McCaffrey, Breece Hall. Not a massive surprise considering that he is, obviously a rookie and he's young, and so therefore I think that's why he's probably been put up there. But obviously Michael Carter was decent last year, so he's not going to get all of the work. Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel, Jalen Hurts going at the 2-12, and Devontae Adams at the 3-1. So Team 1's got quite a nice little start there, I think. Russell Wilson, Trey Lance going in the 3rd round. AJ Brown, the new Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver, so that at the 3-4. Dalvin Cook at the 3-5. Stafford, Mixon, and finally Stephon Diggs going at the 3-8, leaving the co-host who I'm with at the moment thinking, what on earth am I going to do at the 3-9? Do I go for a quarterback now that lots of them have started to disappear?
I thought more quarterbacks would have gone in my pick from Henry and all the way back round to me. I'm looking at it. I'm round the bend. There's 6 picks to go after me. So if I count 6 down from them, if everyone took a quarterback, it's down to Mac Jones. That leaves me with Zach Wilson, Kenny Pickett, Kirk Cousins, Tom Brady, Ryan Tannehill. I'd be looking personally, I'd be keeping my eye on Matt Ryan. I think he's at Indy. He's got 2-3 years left in him, and they could be big. The next 2 years coming up could be real big for him. He could put up some massive numbers. So I'm going to really value that running back position again. Like I've always said, as soon as a couple of names come off of there, it's struggle time with picking them. And Nick Chubb, again, I know they've got the Deshaun Watson in there, but he is that team still. So I can't turn down running backs like that.
So Nick Chubb has gone. Justin Fields next. Little bit surprised that Fields has gone in front of Trevor Lawrence there. That's a little bit strange. But anyway, Fields has gone at 3-10. And now I'm there and I'm thinking, do I go for a quarterback? There's lots of good quarterbacks there that are worth having a go at. But because we're being crazy and reckless today, we're not going to go for a quarterback. No, we're going to look at the other positions because we're a little bit mental. So I've already got 2 running backs that are going to be starting for me every week unless, an injury happens. So based on that, I'm going to look towards the wide receiver position. There's one guy there's 2 guys actually that kind of stand out for me at this position. There's Jalen Waddle and DK Metcalf. Now, the only downside to Metcalf is the situation that he's in at the moment. But, obviously we're talking about Dynasty, we're talking about the future. However, I'm going to get myself a bit of that penguin celebration. I think that's the way forward. So Jalen Waddle for me. Tyreek Hill gone, Trevor Lawrence has gone, and then DK Metcalf is still there. So I think we're going to go a little bit crazy and pick DK Metcalf as well. So I've got 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers there, and still no quarterbacks. I may have to take one in the next round.
If we wanted someone just to come on and pick who they wanted as players, we could have got Nathan on. He does it in normal redraft. He just picks whoever he wants, whoever's on the board at that time. He never goes to what people say. He just sees the player. If he likes them, he'll take them. Doesn't matter if he's reached for them. They seem to do him well. So,
I think it's an interesting exercise, though. It really is when you do things like this, because it's like the problem is everyone assumes that you have to go quarterback very, very early. So the idea of taking your first 4 picks, not taking a single quarterback, we'll see how we go with it, sort of thing. But it's it'll be interesting to see how it works and who comes out. I think, like I said, I'll have to go quarterback next time, but it's just interesting to see what happens and what I'm going to be left with.
Yeah, I'm going to stick.
What
to
are you guys? What are you looking at now?
I'm looking at the quarterbacks now. Back on that, there's a lot of names gone, and looking at the guys that are left on there, I'm worried about Aaron Rodgers because at any point he could throw his teddies out and say he's retiring. So I don't think that's a sensible pick. Derek Carr, proven, knows he does well. Same with Matt Ryan down there. Matt Ryan's older than Derek Carr. That's the only. I mean, he's going to come back round, and you're going to get Matt Ryan. That's what I'm thinking, and you're going to be quids in and laughing at the end of it. I'm going to go Derek Carr. I like the situation he's in at the minute. He's always consistent. Again, they're building the team around him at the minute. I don't think they're not pushing the running game massively, and it's him that's going to lead that team. We saw it last year, so I'm going to go for Derek Carr.
Yeah, I think it's a really good pick. I mean, I probably would have, if I was looking at quarterbacks, he's sort of like, if I was doing this as in like it was a league that I was in, I'd probably have already done 2 quarterbacks now, and I feel like Derek Carr is a really, really good second quarterback. So that works really well for you. Now, everyone has, apart from Aaron Rodgers at the 5'7", everyone has gone running back, tight end, or wide receiver, leaving quite a lot of nice quarterbacks still on the board. So Kelsey, Kamara, Kittle, Kenneth Walker at the 4'8", Drake London at 4'9". Saquon, do you feel that that's about right for Saquon? Do you think like the back of the 4th round? I suppose if it was redraft, it would kind of be around the back of the 2nd. So
I think, yeah. I mean, we spoke about this before when we saw him. I thought it was a bit of a reach in the last one we did, but now I think that's about right for him. He's not gone as that team's first running back, so they're not pinned all their hopes on him. And they could get someone again on the turn when they're picking, and if they want to pick another guy up. So I think as value, as a gamble, he could turn out brilliant this year. So that's good value at that point.
Yeah, so in the 5th round, we've had quite a few wide receivers go. Deontay Johnson, Treylon Burks, Garrett Wilson, DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin all went in the 5th round. Aaron Rodgers, as I said, went at the 5'7", and David Montgomery at the 5'8", leaving you with 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, no wide receivers after quite a strong wide receiver run just gone, and no tight end. So where are you going to go? Any ideas?
It's going to be someone who catches. That's going to be for sure. Yeah, I mean, I've got time to wait on that. I need to lock in a wide receiver just in case in these next 6 picks another one goes, because it starts to get a bit juicy after that. And looking at the names, Michael Pittman, I love him. I'd take him. I'm not sure I'd take him as my first. I wouldn't want to pin all my hopes on him being my wide receiver 1. I probably love him as my wide receiver 2 in my team. Jerry Jeudy, it's a bit of a topic of conversation at the moment with what he's been doing off the field. Otherwise, I think he'd be a certain, knowing that. I don't know. I'm looking at these names, and have I done right in going 2 running backs? Should I pick a wide receiver up? There's still some big names here. There's still some quality.
To me, there is one name quite near the top, which I feel he's not necessarily the wide receiver 1 on his team, because there's 2 of them.
Yeah, but they're both currently on the board. Is it Godwin and Evans, and you were thinking Evans?
Yeah. I feel that Evans is the guy, personally. But
I think the only worry there is if Tom Brady leaves, who's throwing him the ball?
The only thing I'd say about that is I feel like Evans was still quite a good fantasy player when Brady wasn't there. So I think he's definitely one that wouldn't be too bad. But obviously it's up to you. So
yeah, I also like Keenan Allen. Same situation.
yeah.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of rookies still going to be left on there if I want to look at them on the return. I need a guy that's proven. I like Chris Olave there. He's screaming out to me, but we don't know if he's proven yet. I love him, but we don't know. I need a guy that is definitely proven to get points, and that is Mike Evans. It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's got to be the choice.
So Mike Evans, he's taken Tua goes at the 5-10, and I now have to go quarterback because it's reaching a point where it's getting a bit desperate. So there's Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, Kenny Pickett, Kirk Cousins, Tom Brady. If I just fancy quarterback for a year, why not? Might as well. Is someone to go for? Ryan Tannehill's still there. They're all older. Well, not all older, but they're sort of more. They're either veterans or, some real sort of like young guys that we don't really know. Having said all that, there is one guy who he might not be in Minnesota much longer, but I think he will definitely find himself a job somewhere else. He's still a decent quarterback, as much as it pains me to say as a Packers fan. But I'm going to go for Kirk Cousins at the 5-11 and hope that another one drops to me. Who's gone? My computer has frozen. Help me out here. Who went for on the 12?
So 12 was Michael Pittman. Then we had ETN go, and then you're back on the clock. So
okay.
No quarterbacks. You can take another
quarterback. No quarterback has gone. So what do we go for? Do you know what? I'm tempted just to punt it a little bit further down the road and see what happens. I'm going to go for Aaron Jones. I think he's being criminally underdrafted. And the one thing that everyone needs to remember is that the games that Devontae Adams didn't play in, Aaron Jones was the guy who got a lot of the points. So I'm going to go for Aaron Jones at the 6-2 and see what happens after that, if it will let me do it. Oh.
You're not going to pick anyone.
No, I will. Hang on.
Yeah, I think Aaron Jones is. I agree with you. He's been underrated in a lot of mocks that have been going around, and he's not a one-season wonder. You're not just saying last year he was good. He was great the season prior as well. So, yeah, he's going to split carries definitely with Dylan. Dylan proved how good he was, but he's still RB1 for that team. So, I mean, that's what you want. You've got 3 of them now. So, that's what we've always said in the previous shows. We want starters.
Yeah.
So.
Hopefully some quarterbacks will come back my way. But Devontae Smith went at 6-3, leaving it back to you in the 6th round. Who'd you fancy? You got yourself 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 1 wide receiver. You could make it very nice and even if you went for another wide receiver, just 2 of each. Of course, the other thing that a lot of people sometimes forget when it comes to Superflex, you need to make sure you got 3. Because there's going to be a bye week. Even if it's someone who's not really going to play much, you need to make sure that you got 3. So, who'd you fancy?
There's plenty of tight ends still there that can do a job. I've seen a wide receiver I like on the turn as well. I reckon I can still get them. Let's look what running backs I've got in there. James Conner, the touchdown machine. AJ Dillon.
The only problem with Conner is that you do feel like there's going to be some regression. He's not going to be able to get as many touchdowns as what he did last time. I know he's got the potential to do it, but it very rarely happens. So you just feel like it's going to be tough for him to do it. But you're picking him up in the 6th round. You've already got 2 running backs though that are going to start. So it depends if you want to Want to make sure you got another
I'm going
one.
to go the opposite to you. I'm going to go for the future. We don't know how long Aaron Jones will be at Green Bay. He might move on. And I'm going to go for his replacement, which is going to be A.J. Dillon, isn't it? So,
yeah, I think Dillon's a good pick. I mean, he's a quality player, and like you say, he's going to get plenty of game time. I think the run game is going to be featured a lot more in Green Bay, so I think that's definitely something that's going to happen. So Jerry Jeudy went, Leonard Fournette, Josh Jacobs. I'm seeing quite a few quarterbacks going, which isn't very nice. TJ Hawkinson and Darren Waller. So all the main tight, the sort of stud tight ends now you feel have gone. Quite a lot of wide receivers gone as well. You see Moore, Williams, Godwin, Keenan Allen at 7-2 is ridiculous value for Keenan Allen. Zach Wilson and Kenny Pickett have both gone. And then a little run of wide receivers again with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Bateman, and the new Green Bay wide receiver, Christian Watson. So you're back on the clock at the 7-9. Like I said, what have you got? You got 2 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 1 wide receiver, no tight ends. I feel that there's an obvious place where you probably need to start looking.
You still think I need to start looking at tight end? I mean, what?
No, not tight end. I think you need to start looking at wide receiver.
Well, that's what I was going with. I was looking at the wide receiver. I was hoping that Watson would make it round to me. I was liking the look of Watson. But for me, there's a guy on there again. He's proven. He's young. He's in a new team with his old teammate. He had a couple of drops last year, but he's super quick. He's going to be looking at what's happened. Christian Kirk's gone. Hopkins you would have thought he's on the decline now. They got AJ Green. So it's going to be Marquis Brown that's going to be soon to be their wide receiver 1. I don't think it'll take him long. And with the team they've still got, I think he's going to be open a bit with the pace he's got. And last year he had a great season. So, I'm going to lock him in. He's good for fantasy.
So Zeke has just gone at the 7-10. That is insane. Zeke has gone. That is even in a super flex, that's mental, I think. Right, so I'm on the clock, 7-11. Need to go for another quarterback. He's already been mentioned. I think he's going to be very solid at Indy. Andrew's going to be very upset that I've nicked him. I think he's going to do well there. And I think that he's got a really good O-line in front of him, which is what he didn't have in Atlanta. And I think although it's predominantly run game with the Colts, I do feel that, Matt Ryan is just going to pick wide receivers here all over the place. And I think because of that, I'm going to go for Matt Ryan at the 7-11. Elijah Mitchell, James Conner at the 8-1. Crazy. Has gone. So I'm back on the clock. I've got my 3. I feel like 3 running backs. You want 3 solid starters, and then really once you get past that, you're kind of looking more towards some punts and just hoping that they might do okay. There's some good wide receivers still out there which I could go for. I could go for a 3rd quarterback, of course, and make sure. I mean, the fact that Brady's there is incredibly tempting. But obviously he's only like 1 year. And there's also tight end, but there's not a lot really at tight end that I'm desperate for, and I think they'll keep going. So I'm going to go for wide receiver, just so I've got a 3rd wide receiver to start with. Amari Cooper is there, but I just don't like. I don't like it at Cleveland. I just think it's going to be so much run game with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and Watson, when he does play, is well known for running the ball as well. So I think there's going to be so much run game there. The one guy who stands out a little bit for me, I think I'm going to go for. I think he's going to be great for Justin Herbert. He was great for Justin Herbert last year. I don't see why he wouldn't be again. He is a little bit older, but I still think he's got a good few years in him. I'm going to go for Mike Williams there. I think he's going to do really well. for me, it was between him and Cortland Sutton, because I think Sutton's got a really good shout with Russell Wilson now to do really well. But Amari Cooper went next, and then it's back to you at the 8-4. So you got yourself your 2 wide receivers and your 2 running backs and your 2 quarterbacks. Oh no, you got 3 running backs. Sorry. So
yeah, I think that Williams pick is a steal. I think he showcased himself to be the potential wide receiver 1 there, didn't he? It's definitely going to be a good contest there for who's going to get that. The catch is there. Do you know what? I'm going to get another wide receiver. Call me mad, but
I do. I call you mad quite a lot. I mean, that's part of the podcast, calling you mad. So, you know, it's like...
Juju Smith-Schuster at a new team. We know he's a quality wide receiver. We've seen it. Surely he's got to be good there. He's got Mahomes throwing him the ball.
I mean, he has to be. That's just how it works.
In any form of draft prior to this year, you're not seeing Juju on the board at this point. I think a lot of people went high on him last year as well, didn't they?
Yeah, I think a lot of people felt that he would do really well, and it didn't really happen because he got injured, obviously. But yeah, I mean, I suppose the only problem with Juju is it's a new team. You don't quite know what he's going to be like. But I mean, you know, of all the quarterbacks to throw it to, who else would you want? So you feel like he's got a good chance to do something. All right, after that, James Cook went at the 8-5. Guy Moore, Darnell Mooney. Mooney was definitely one that I was sort of looking at. Brandon Ayuk. And then we've had a little run of tight ends with Frymouth, Schultz and Goddard at the end of the 8th round. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Sanders, Pollard and Pierce at Houston. Cortland Sutton going at the 9-5 is a steal. Damien Harris at the 9-6 is a steal. Renfro at the 9-7 and Tom Brady at the 9-8, which is annoying because I was really tempted to get him if he was going to come back to me. Yeah, leaving you on the 9-9 there. It's you've kind of got all your starters apart from your tight end now, which is kind. We're both kind of in the same boat, despite the fact that we've sort of gone about this a bit different. So
I mean, yeah, I mean, there's after me,
there's still plenty there,
and there's what Dawson Knox, Gesicki, Fant, Komet, new Trey McBride, Zach Ertz. You know, there's going to be one of those names on the board back round to me. I know definitely the next 6 picks aren't going to be tight ends, are they? Oh, I say that.
No.
They could be. So, you know, let's see where else I can get some value. I'm happy that I've got those 3 wide receivers because we have to fill 3 slots before we're even looking at Superflex. So I think I've got my 3 solid guys in there, and there's probably going to be some rookies for me to take a gamble on as a bit of a backup. I've got 3 running backs. I might look at another quarterback because the names are sort of coming off quite quick now, and there's not many. You're looking at gambles, I think. Ryan Tannehill for me would have been a certain pick. I don't even think he'd still be on the board, would he? He's still a quality quarterback. He's still good. You know, he's still got that team to the playoffs 3 years in a row. Whereas, you know, if I'm going to need a backup for bye weeks or whatever, Malik Willis, Bridder, those guys might be on the bench. Are they too much of a risk at the moment? Should I leave them for a little bit later? So
this is the problem. You got to decide, what are you going to do? I mean, you all these thoughts are running through your head, and you just don't know what to do. It's like, where are you going to go? He's gone for Ryan Tannehill. Michael Carter has gone at the 9-10, another one that was really tempting to go for. I kind of feel like I'm in the same situation a little bit now. I feel like I want that 3rd quarterback. And when you look at who is around and who's going to do well, there's not a lot there anymore. It is really, really difficult. Having said all of that, I do feel that Matt Ryan and Kirk Cousins are probably going to play most weeks for me certainly in the first year, and I think probably in the upcoming years. There's one guy who I look at and I sort of think to myself, I'm not a massive fan. I'm really not. But if he's going to succeed, he is going to succeed this year.
Daniel Jones.
Because there has been serious improvement on the O-line, and there are wide receiver weapons there. These wide receivers have not got bad overnight. They can't be just awful players just because they've turned up in New York. So I think Daniel Jones, it kind of feels to me it's a bit like between him and Jameis Winston, personally. I think Winston is one who might do okay and with the Saints, but I'm not too sure. I'm going to take a punt on Jones in the hope that the new coaching staff can work a miracle and get him playing a bit better. So Mike Gesicki and George Pickens went next. I've got no tight end. There's one tight end left there's two tight ends actually who I think are definitely a cut above what's left on the board. One of them is very old and is only going to be around for a couple more years. The other one I think could be around for quite a long time and is in a team that is trying to win and scores lots of points. So Dawson Knox for me is definitely the pick that I'm going to go for. Michael Thomas went next, leaving you at the 10-4. Still no tight end, but you've certainly got enough quarterbacks now not to worry about. You've got your starters elsewhere. So where are you going to go?
Yeah, I think your Daniel Jones pick's a good pick. You've got to remember last year before his injury, he was good at fantasy because he was running the ball a lot more. So although his team might not win, and although he might not be the best quarterback, I still feel he's got fantasy value with the style he plays, and you never know, it could be a good gamble.
Given that you're a Giants fan, I would be slightly concerned if you thought it was a bad pick. So, I would...
There is so many Giants fans you could have been talking to right now that are very, very much not on his side. So
I can understand it. I really can, because it's like he hasn't been great for a long, basically his whole career with the Giants. He hasn't been very good. The only reason that I feel he's worth the punt is just purely because of the changing in the coaching staff. And I might be completely wrong, but I feel like they have a bit of a plan. And I'm not saying it's going to come to fruition this year, but I just feel like they've got a bit of a plan, and that give it a couple of years, they might actually be in a position where they could potentially do something. Now, that doesn't mean that Daniel Jones is going to be the guy for them, but, if he's going to have a chance of doing anything, it's going to be now. So I think that's why he's worth the go. What are you going to do?
Well, I've just scrolled down, and a lot of teams have already got tight ends. I've just scrolled down and seen a tight end that I generally really like him and think he's a quality player. So I'm going to gamble and see if he's still on it on the way back round, and try and capitalize on another one of these bigger weapons. Maybe let's have a look what we've got.
Who are you hoping gets back to you?
Oh, well, let's see if he's there when we get back round.
Oh, we want to have a laugh. Who are you hoping is going to get back to you?
It'd be more exciting when we get round to it. So you've not got long to wait. There's some wide receivers on there I really like. Allen Robinson now at the Rams, like that. Chase Claypool, big play Clay. He's quality. Tyler Lockett, underrated.
Yeah. You're going to get names like that because obviously Big Ben's gone, Russell Wilson's gone, so they're wide receivers at teams where the quarterbacks aren't that great. So you're going to be able to pick them up for great value. It's just a matter of whether they actually get the quarterback, to get it to them. But
you've got to remember, in Claypool's first year, he was used as a tight end, as a wide receiver. He ran the ball a lot. When they got close to that goal line, he was used as a running back as well. I just think if they can get him back into that role, obviously now Juju's not there, he's going to have to step up a little bit more. They've got quarterbacks there that are able to throw the ball, whether it be Pickett or Mitch Trubisky. So we're not saying he's got an absolute nobody, like chucking it round. Well, I say that Trubisky does just chuck it around. Yeah, I think Robinson, there's a lot of mouths to feed at the Rams, but we've seen that not harm other stock at other players at the Rams. But I like Claypool. I think he's worth a gamble. And I think with like I said, we need 3 locked in on your roster before you start. So I think I have to go another wide receiver at this point.
So massive wide receivers now going. Claypool, Davis, Dotson, Robinson, Tony going at the 10-9, Brandon Cooks at the 10-10. Really good wide receiver there. Going to be the number 1 guy as well in Houston. And Kirk. It kind of feels like everyone's forgetting about Kirk. Like he's definitely one, because he's still young as well. That's the thing. So at the 10-11, he's a really good price for a young wide receiver. I know that he's got himself, it's a bit of a struggle for him. Have you frozen?
Oh, you can see it. Look, the clock's just still.
So from what I can see, Kirk went at the 10-11. Then we had some tight ends go. So Noah Fant, Cole Kmet, and Trey McBride have gone. You might want to reset it.
Can I reset, or will it all go?
Yeah, if you just refresh the page, it should come back. No, just press the yeah. Well, this has gone well, isn't it? I tell you. I mean, you've got one job.
Hey, I blame the weather.
Blaming the weather. Only an Englishman could blame the weather, honestly.
Doesn't look like we're getting far with this, does it? Oh. Sorry. Okay. Should I try and pick?
Yeah, I mean, hello. Error. No wonder why it's gone wrong. What have you done? I mean, this is quality viewing. Yeah, that might be a good move.
Let's see if I can fix this.
I can't pick for you. You've basically got just over 3 minutes to fix this, because otherwise this is all going to go wrong, and you're not going to be able to. You're just going to take anyone that's left. Do you want me to tell you who you're going to end up taking? You're going to end up taking Zach Ertz. That's who you're going to end up taking if you don't sort this out.
Right. Come on. You can do
Disaster.
this. Anyway, Zach Ertz wouldn't be a bad pick, would it?
You've got 2 minutes, 45 seconds to get this sorted out now. This is the most exciting episode we've done. This is like Mission Impossible. It's going to be great. Anyway, some other players went, which hopefully you might see at some stage. You never know. Michael Gallup went at the 11-5. Really, really good pick. Michael Gallup. Tyler Lockett at the 11-6. And then a couple of running backs in Chase Edmonds and Devin Singletary. Are you anywhere close to getting this fixed?
How long have I got?
You got 2 minutes, 10 seconds.
Oh, I've got plenty of time. Oh, I've got plenty of time.
You are literally just doing this so you want me to fill time, don't you? That's all you're doing.
I want to see what you've got in the locker, mate. I want to see what your hosting skills are like.
They died long time ago.
Look at this, just in time.
He's back just in time. Thank God for that.
He's still, mate. He's well on the board still. Still got to scroll down to get to him. I really like Robert Tonyan. I've said it to you before. Okay. I've said it to you before. When is it? The last 2 seasons, but apart from his injury, he is that main part of that wide receiver game. Although he's a tight end, they use him. I'm surprised he's so low. I'm going to snag him up. I'm going to then get a backup afterwards.
I think the reason that he might be a little bit lower is because there's still a little bit of uncertainty about him coming back, whether or not he's going to be fully fit when he does come back. So I think that's probably why you're seeing that he may struggle to be a start straight away. Right. Well, we've now that we're in the 11th round, to be honest, we've all got our starters. We're just looking at bench spots, and really you're looking at trying to get some good bench spots, people who you like, who you think might be able to do something. Looking at who's left, I know that he might not be on the best team, and that he might not be the youngest either, but he's still showing that he's got plenty of tread on the tyres at the moment. So I think Cordero Patterson helps the fact that he can be wide receiver or running back at Atlanta. I think obviously you're going to see Kyle Pitts and Drake London get plenty of the ball, but I do think that Patterson's going to get a lot of the ball still for them. And so I'm going to go for him at the 11-11. Davis Mills and Adam Thielen have just gone, and then I'm gonna double dip on the Indianapolis Colts. Bit of a punt. We're going to go for a wide receiver. Think he's going to do great there. Think he could be around for a long time. Rookie Alec Pierce for me, I think is definitely worth a shout. Irv Smith went next at the 12-3, and then who do you fancy to be sitting on your bench for most of the year or a couple of years?
Who do I fancy sitting? Well, how do you know this? I might use them. This is tough now. You look at Dynasty, and you know you've got to keep them for the future. There's guys like Melvin Gordon that are on there that are quality running backs, but how many more years are you going to get out of him, and are you realistically going to use him? Is his value there, or should you go for one of the younger rookies and take a chance?
Yeah, I think once you reach this point, I mean, like I say, you don't want to just completely take rookies. I think the idea of just completely taking rookies doesn't really work, because, you know, if none of them hit, then you're just stuck with a bench full of guys that aren't going to do anything for you at all and aren't going to be able to get into your team. So I think it's kind of a good idea to have a bit of a mixture, personally.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, taking someone like Pierce, I think, is a good shout. But at the same time, I want someone like Cordero Patterson, who I know is going to play. So
yeah,
you're kind of like getting a mixture. So I think it works well.
It's I think despite this guy's come out and said it a few times, he still wants to be RB1. He will split carries with Williams, but I think if he doesn't stay at the Broncos, he could be a starter at another team. So I think Melvin Gordon, he's still in his, is he? I want to say he's like 27, 28. I might be wrong.
Yeah, he is still younger than what I think a lot of people think he is. He's just been around a really long time, and so everyone thinks that he's really old, but he's not as old as what you think he is. A couple of rookie wide receivers gone after that, Mechie and Bell. Zach Ertz went at 12-7. I mean, obviously he's a lot older, but I think he is going to be around for a little bit still. And also Arizona, he showed that he's still a good player. We had some running backs go: Penny Robinson, Mattison, and Allegier. Allegier, is that how you say his name?
Why not?
Why not? Why not? At the back of the 12th, Calvin Ridley. So that's great value for a player who, yeah, you're going to miss him this year, but at this point, you know, if he comes back, he's going to be great. Robert Woods kicks off the 13th round. Robinson Moore, DJ Chark has gone. Not really any. I mean, Russell Gage, I suppose, is a wide receiver at Tampa Bay, might do something. A couple of tight ends have gone. Big Al and Hunter Henry have gone now. And back to you in the 14th round. Remember, you do still need a kicker and a defense. I know there are certain Superflex ones they prefer to put flex spots in instead of kicker or defense, but we thought we'd just put them in as well. So, who do you fancy for your 13th round pick? Like we said, it's just a bench spot, really.
Yeah, I really like this guy. I don't think he's turned bad overnight. He was a great player in a poor team. He was a poor player in a poor team last year. But yeah, Kenny Golladay for me, I don't think he turned bad overnight. I think he's got a chance to be the Kenny Golladay that we all remember. You mentioned it with Jones. It's the season to try it. And if it doesn't work at the Giants, again, he's another player that I think can find success as a wide receiver one in a bigger team.
Yeah, I think he certainly has a chance to do it. And like I said, I think with that sort of remade O-line and new coaching staff, that I think there is a strong chance that it could work out for you. Right, I'm back on the clock after Zamir White when I've got my 3 quarterbacks. I mean, there is a part of me that's tempted to take a punt on one of them, but I feel like you could probably just pick them up at some point, and it's not really worth it. Running backs, I don't know. There's not loads there. There's a few that look decent, but they're predominantly sort of like older guys. I mean, Snoop Cooper's there. I've been saying it for ages that I'd love a bit. Who wouldn't want a bit of Snoop on their team? I mean, it's the way forward. But yeah, I'm going to go for wide receiver just to sort of like pad that out a little bit more. There's one guy who I think he's going to be pretty decent, like in his own. He has been the last few years, and I feel like it's just that, unfortunately, the way that the Patriots play, that they're not a massive, passing team. They do run the ball a lot, but I do really like Jacoby Myers. I think he's a good one to have around, and that I'm not saying he's going to be amazing forever, but I do feel like he's got a chance of doing something. I'm going to go for Myers, and then really my last pick, because obviously we've got kicker and defense left. I don't really know where to go with it, to be honest. There's a lot of guys that are sort of all right, and this is the problem. Once you reach this point, there's not a lot. I could go for another tight end, but I think I will go for another tight end. It's going to be a bit of a punt. He's only got a 1-year deal, and he's with a team that isn't great, but I do think that he might improve because now they've actually got a coach that isn't going to go around kicking its players. So I'm going to go for Evan Ingram, who, I mean, wasn't he like the number 5 pick or something when he got drafted? It's like there was loads of hype around him, and there's been hype around him for years, this guy. And he just keeps getting injured, and maybe in a new place he might do a little bit better. You just don't know. And at this point, it is just a punt. So I'm going to go for Evan Ingram to make sure I've got a second tight end. And now we're back to you to see who you want. Yeah, like we said, it's really just bench spots now. So
yeah, I mean, your Ingram picks, the hype should have been there around him. He was good enough for it. I mean, he's essentially as good as any wide receiver, isn't he? Great hands. Yeah. We used him as a wide receiver when half of our team were injured. It is his injuries that he's struggled with. Other than that, he's a quality player. I was on the same thinking as you. I think I still need backup for my tight end position just in case he isn't starting or in case he gets re-injured. And I think there's going to be plenty of those youngsters like Woods at the Colts, Dulcich, who from UCLA was a great receiver. I think a lot of those guys are still going to be on there until we find out what they can actually do. Kirk at the Jets, I really liked him. So I'm going to take a guy that is going to be there for backup straight off the bat. I'm going to take Rob Gronkowski.
Gronk at the 14th. Hasn't actually got a team at the moment, though.
Don't worry about it, mate. He'll come back.
But we feel he probably will. So. Right, we've got some running backs gone. Hubbard, Herbert, Henderson, Kenny Gainwell as well has gone. Some, decent running backs there. And really now you're just starting to see the kickers and the defense go. Bills, Rams. I think they're probably actually the two best defenses at the moment.
Yeah, the Bills, definitely. They were worth their weight in gold last year. If you had them as your fantasy defense, they scored in the 20s, in some of their games, because they shut people out and got the turnovers. Not sure the 49ers and the Cowboys are the next two best ones.
The Cowboys actually weren't. The Cowboys weren't too bad last year. They did okay. The 49ers, I think it's just purely because they have this reputation of having a really strong defense, don't they? So I think that's probably why they've been put there.
There's three defenses on there that I would always go for. They're always good. It's the Steelers and the Colts. I think every single year they have good defenses. And the moves that the Chargers have made this year on defense, they're going to be putting up some numbers as well. But I
think the Chargers would be really interested in that defense because it struggled a lot. It really did struggle last year. So you sort of think even bringing in these players, it'll make a difference, but is it really going to make like an insane difference to put them really high up? Yeah, I mean, take your pick.
The Steelers have never had a bad defense, really, any year, really, have they? They're well known for it. So I don't think you can really go wrong with the Steelers.
He's gone for the Steelers. I'm going to go for what is going to be one of the best defenses coming up. They haven't been before, but this year, you wait. They're coming. They're going to be one of the best defenses. The Green Bay Packers are going to surprise a lot of you in defense, and they're going to be great. I'm going to go for them. And then finally, my kicker. I mean, really, who cares?
Who's still on there, though? Who proved to be like the best kicker in the league last year, and he's a kid.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's a little bit like, it's horrible to say they don't matter, but they really don't matter. But we're going to go for Q in Atlanta, just purely to pick one, really. So, Chargers are gone. Who do you fancy as a kicker, just to round it out?
None of them. I mean, I really like Rodrigo Blankenship. I thought he was great. He keeps getting injured. K. York, the rookie.
Yeah, go for it.
How far do I have to get down?
I mean, Who are you looking for?
He's just got rid of his number 5. I think that doesn't really matter. He'll still be a great kicker. He's going to have plenty of chances to kick field goals if we can't get in the end zone, like usual.
Graham Gano is his final pick. Right, just quickly, just because no one really cares about the rest of the kickers that went. So my team that I went for, so my quarterbacks are Kirk Cousins, Matt Ryan and Daniel Jones. Not the most exciting quarterback room, but it's just purely to show that actually you don't have to go quarterback as early as what some of these other teams have. Najee Harris, Austin Eckler, Aaron Jones, and Cordell Patterson at running back. I kind of feel like I might have wanted, looking back on it, one more just to make sure I've got it, but there's lots of people I could pick up. Wide receiver, I've got Jalen Waddle, DK Metcalf, Mike Williams, Alec Pierce, and Jacoby Myers. And then at tight end, Dawson Knox, Evan Ingram. Finally, Koo as my kicker, and the Green Bay Packers, who are going to destroy everyone next year, as my defense.
I mean, I suppose they're in a weak division, so they play them twice a year. So I've got Lamar Jackson as the future of my team to lead them to championships every single year, with Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb being those two solid big backs running the ball. Mike Evans, Marquis Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster filling in a wide receiver, Robert Tonyan when he's fit to be a wide receiver for the essentially a wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers. AJ Dillon sat there in the flex. Derek Carr, Graham Gano as my kicker. Pittsburgh Steelers my defense. And on my bench, I've got Ryan Tannehill, Chase Claypool, Melvin Gordon, Kenny Golladay, and Rob Gronkowski.
Excellent. So it has gone a little bit longer, this one, but when there's start-up Dynasty Superflexes, they tend to go a little bit longer. We're going to keep putting out mock drafts out for you guys. If you want to keep watching them, before we do them, I'll put a poll out every time so you can decide what we want to do. We're hoping to get some guests on. It's just a matter of me actually arranging something. So we'll do that as well. And yeah, just keep on answering them polls. Thank you to everyone who did vote in it. And yeah, we will keep doing them.
Yeah, and I will try not to have any technical issues next time. Apologies for anyone who does have any, but yeah,
that's
we'll try
half
to get
the fun. That's half the fun.
We'll try and get some familiar faces on. You might see some of the guys from the regular fantasy show that we run through the season. But yeah, hopefully you're enjoying them. Hopefully we're bringing a bit of something different to you. And stay tuned for what we've got coming up. They'll be all over social media with the polls, like Adam said. So yeah, keep an eye out. Make sure you're following us on all the social media.
We've got some big interviews coming up. Don't miss them.
Oh, big interviews. Keep them posted. We won't say who they are. Right. Cheers, guys. Thank you for joining, and see you again soon.